Hey there, welcome back to my channel, String Things by Mel. My name is Melissa. I'm a stay-at-home mom living in Vancouver, Canada. And on my channel, I like to chat and share everything about my knitting hobby. Today is all about my experience at Knit City Vancouver. Just a little casual sit down, little show and tell about the event. If you are unfamiliar with this event, it is an event that's hosted once a year, or it was once a year prior to the addition of another Western Canada location. But it's been held at the Peony Forum for several years. However, due to a change in booking policies, this was the last year at that location. Kind of sad. Hopefully, they find a new suitable location. So that made this year a little extra special because it's also kind of saying goodbye to that location, but not goodbye to the event. And so typically this is held once a year. Many vendors come in, and it is a wonderful opportunity to see all these beautiful hand-dyed yarns, also commercial yarns, in person. So there's also a Western Canada location now in Calgary, and on the East Coast there's Montreal and Toronto. And I had the pleasure of going to Toronto last year. And then also last year it was in Calgary instead of Vancouver. But Vancouver is obviously where I live, so very excited. An event I'd been looking forward to all year long. I didn't go to Flock. I did go to Fibers West, which is here in the Lower Mainland as well, back in March. Um, but yeah, and didn't go to Knit City, Montreal. So this was for me this year like the event that I was most looking forward to. And overall, like I did have a great, fulfilling experience. It was so nice to see my friends Sarah and Lauren. My Knit City crew, Elise is part of that. She was vending, Sunday Fibre Co. She was vending at the event, so didn't really get to do too much hanging out with her, but I did get to hang out with Sarah and Lauren. It was so nice to see those ladies again, and we were saying how even though, a bunch of time has passed, it's so nice to meet up and kind of pick up where things went, where we left off. We had lunch together, but we also walked around and browsed the booths together. They got there right at opening, and they were able to snag like the special Knit City bag that was for sale. I unfortunately didn't make it to the event until about 10:30. It was a very busy weekend for me, not just because of Knit City, but I have some lots of family birthday stuff happening. So we were out on the Friday night, and so I needed a little extra sleep after that dinner out with my husband's side of the family. It was my husband's birthday, which also means it's his twin's birthday as well, and then my father-in-law and our niece birthday that weekend as well. So it's just four birthdays in one whole weekend. That's a lot of celebrating. So that's also why I was only at the marketplace for one out of the 2 days. Now, I did kind of feel like, were there fewer vendors than usual, or am I just kind of getting used to the size of event? I don't know. If it's me getting more comfortable with the size of the event and the number of people, then that's actually a good thing. I didn't feel overwhelmed when I got there. I've been to this event before and other events, so now I'm quite comfortable just going in, browsing at my own pace. And I also had a pretty good idea, or like pretty concrete shopping list this time around. And you know what? I'm quite proud of myself. I did like stay on task. I don't really have too many impulse purchases to share. So I got there, and I always like to get a first general lay of the land and see where all the booths are and who's vending there. I didn't look in advance where any of the booths were. Um, and it's not a huge place that you really need to look at the map unless you're like, I need to get to so and so's booth because they only have this, limited quantity of such and such. So I didn't have that kind of rushed feeling. And so I just kind of showed up and just took my time. Now, a quick recap of my shopping list going into Knit City. This is something I discussed in my last video about my fall knitting plans. So I wanted to look out for yarn for a cabled sweater, the Ogden from Woolfolk. And then another pattern from Woolfolk is the Lynn, kind of a dicky cowl accessory. And then also wanted to look for, yes, a yarn for a levitate wrap, which is another item that it's like I've had on my list for some time, but I'm trying to find the right yarn. And it is something that I have knit for myself before. So, as I mentioned, I was really good at staying on task and I'm really happy with my purchases. Like, I'm actually feeling pretty excited and I've been wanting to like swatch and cast these on, but I thought I was going to record this video sooner, but I had my daughter got sick, so she was home from school this week. But that's how it goes. So, what I'll share first is, oh, this is what I found first, what I purchased first. So, the Dicky pattern, the Lynn from Woolfolk Yarn, that original sample was made with a blown yarn, and I found a blown yarn. I'm quite excited. I know I said that I was looking for maybe like a brown. I even said cardboard brown, just, but I found a taupe colored blown yarn from Kensington Prairie Farm, and I believe this is a new yarn for them. And here it is. Very similar construction to Drops Air, if you are familiar with Drops Air. And this is the color taupe, and there were many other colors too, like light gray. There was a charcoal I was very tempted to purchase as well. They even had really saturated colors too, like orange and purples. I thought about getting the dark purple for my daughter, but decided that she still has her Cameron pullover, which is made from Drops Air, so I figured she doesn't need another blown yarn sweater right now anyway. But so this is the taupe color, which is very similar to my sweater, which this is the sweater I wore to Knit City. This is my Norma sweater. It is the original, like the raglan version, because there's a drop shoulder version as well. Mine is holding two strands of fingering together. It's Holst Garn super soft. Cannot recall the colors, the color name for this one. I'll put this details on the screen or in the description. And then I also have Holst Garn super soft held double for the blue color, and then the red color is from Knit Picks, and that's another fingering held double. But yeah, the taupe color is very similar to my sweater that I'm wearing right now. I like this color because it can sometimes look gray. And I think that's going to be a bit more versatile in terms of matching this accessory with different outfits and different jackets. And then it's not the same kind of like camel colored as one of my camel wool coats. So I think this will match all of my outerwear for layering, which is good. This is a little bit lighter than what the pattern calls for, but I'm fine if mine turns out to be a bit more drapey than the original pattern. I think this is even a slightly lighter weight than Drops Air. But yeah, it's a blown yarn. You don't really want to knit blown yarns with a tight tension. You want to keep it nice and light and airy, but it's very soft. So it's called the Pooch Poo. Wow, I might have butchered that name, but it's 70% baby alpaca, 7% merino, 23% recycled polyamide. So the polyamide, I'm most certain is the kind of chain net construction, and then you have the alpaca and merino blown through. And yeah, so it's 100 gram skein, 260 meters. This retails for $20 a skein. However, I didn't even know it until I went up to go pay. These were 30% off. So after tax, I got two of these for $30, which is pretty good. Yeah, there's the name details for you there. So very soft, very excited to knit up my Dickie and also to have a Dickie and say a Dickie all the time. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. But yeah, so that is from Kensington Prairie Farm. Okay, next yarn I want to show you is probably what I'm most excited about. And it comes from Shelterwood. Oh, I'm dropping stuff. Shelterwood Fibre Co. I got a bag from them. This is a new mill out of Vernon, which is my hometown. So extra special. And ever since they've been vending in the Lower Mainland, like at Fibers West, they were there at Fibers West. Every time I've seen them, I haven't purchased anything from them before because one, gone in unprepared, not sure what to knit, and then two, by the time I got to the booth, they didn't have, they wouldn't have sweater quantities for whatever, if I did have an idea of what to buy. But this time, I bought 7 skeins. I was able to get all 7. I don't know if they actually had only 7 of this yarn, but I found some charcoal colored yarn that I'm really excited to use for a levitate wrap. Do I want to hold all 7 here? Okay, let me gather these up. Here they are, these beautiful, beautiful charcoal. It feels really nice. It is a worsted weight yarn, so a little bit lighter than what's called for the levitate wrap, but these skeins, this yarn was just too beautiful to pass up, so I'm just gonna make it work. And having a drapier version of the levitate wrap, but also larger size, is what I'm after. And I'm definitely gonna get some drape out of this yarn because there is quite a bit of alpaca content in here. Alpaca is a little bit denser than wool, so that's part of the reason why you get more drape from alpaca yarns. So I'll put these down, although they feel really nice. Oh. So it's 55% alpaca, 35% CVM, 10% Shetland. This is a 100 gram skein, 155 meters. It's a worsted 3-ply, and the color is a natural blend. There's no dye in this one. So blending naturally colored fleeces from alpaca, CVM, Romodale, and our own Shetland weather yields this full-bodied and versatile yarn. Oh, like I'm not going to get into spinning. This is what someone said to me when they saw how much I was gushing over this yarn. Because that would be a lovely way to get into naturally colored, buying fleeces and spinning up my own naturally colored yarns. But not going to get into it. I cannot afford to have another hobby, both like physically and financially and all that, time-wise and all that. But so I'm really excited to have found this yarn. Um, I don't know what CVM stands for. I didn't look that up. But if you're into spinning or if you really know your sheep, then you'll know. But it feels really nice. There is a good there's flop, a little bit of flop to the yarn. That's a good can be an indication of how drapey your garment might be, but also remember tension gauge and all that. It's going to affect your drape too. Can I get this to, I'm trying to show you the colors. There you go. So yeah, I can't believe that this is like a naturally colored, look how dark charcoal this is. Because I feel like when I picture darker sheep, they always come out a little bit more brown. But yeah, look at that. I'm so excited. I'm really excited that I found a charcoal colored, like a natural charcoal colored yarn to use. So yeah, so this is gonna go into a levitate wrap. I'm picturing, one, if I can get 2 sizes larger than my original version. Not necessarily like a huge amount more of positive ease, but I definitely want something a bit longer. I want it to have like that extra fabric in the sleeves and around the body and just, almost like house coat comfort, but stylish oversizedness for outerwear. Throwing out a lot of improper words, but yeah, so ultimate cozy outerwear while still looking stylish is what I'm going for. So I'll have to do some swatching and figure out, how far off gauge I am, or whether I knit at my own gauge, modify the pattern, but try to do my best in using as much of this yarn as possible. Just maximize all the skeins that I have here. So based on my math, I think I only needed the 6, but they had 7, so I figured let's just buy all 7. I cannot remember the cost per skein, but after tax, all 7 was about, I think it was 250 something. So let's just say 260 for 7 of these skeins. So I stopped by Your Next Knit, their booth. So Your Next Knit is a shop, well, a local to me shop. I don't think they actually have brick and mortar where you can just go in. But they're out of the Lower Mainland, and actually, Ursula, who's a fellow tester for the Carry Top, which is a recently released pattern by my lovely friend Sarah. She was wearing her version of the Carry Top. She was working at the booth, helping her friend. She's friends with the shop owner. But stop by there. They sell like commercial yarns mainly, like you can find Sandnes Garn, for example. And what I saw at the booth was some Sandnes Garn patterns. So Sandnes Garn recently changed how they offer patterns. So normally they're in like bigger booklets. But now they offer them kind of like standalone individual patterns. You still have to technically, I think, purchase yarn to get these individual patterns. But there were 2 that caught my eye. One in particular I've had my eye on since it was released, but just haven't been able to grab my hands on it, or just haven't been ordering yarn from my usual shop in Kelowna where I would typically order these online. But they had these patterns for individual sale. And this one here, the Fleur pullover? Fleur sweater. There's also a zip-up version as well. But this one is actually a crochet sweater, which I'm very excited. And it is a very modern or contemporary take on a granny square sweater, because it is made up of individual squares. Can I show you a square without copyright infringement here? But yeah, you can see there's like a grid to show you that the sweater, it is just made up of a bunch of little squares, and then you join those to make the rectangles. But yes, it is a crochet pattern. I'm trying to think if I've ever actually done a crochet garment before. I don't think I actually have. But I was a crocheter before knitter, becoming a knitter. So the only main reason why I don't crochet very much anymore is that it's really hard on my wrists now. So for this, I don't know when I'm going to start it. I don't have any yarn in mind for it, but it is something that I'm going to have to work at pretty slowly just to take care of my wrists. But very excited to have my hands on this pattern now. And the other pattern, a little bit of an impulse buy, but just thought it's really cool. I think it's brioche because the needle size is pretty small, but it didn't say brioche in the pattern, I don't think. Anyway, won't waste your time trying to figure that out right now. But this is the penny cardigan. It is a crew neck style cardigan with brioche. I'm pretty sure it's brioche because if you look, the sleeves are rolled up, and brioche looks the same front and back, whereas like if you have like half fisherman's rib, it looks a bit different from the wrong side to right side, depending on which is your wrong side or right side. But because it looks the same on both sides, I think it is brioche, which I have knit brioche before, so no worries about that. But it isn't on 3mm needles, which is like the petite knit pattern, the egg neat cardigan, which is a V-neck. But I've really been wanting to add some more round neck, crew neck cardigans. I'm only hesitant about the sleeve size, and this has a super deep, super large armhole. Try to show you, or maybe I'll pop in a better image over top. But we can see here that the armholes, if you can see the raglan line, it goes pretty far down, and then the sleeve cuff itself is pretty wide, which I'm not actually bothered by how wide the sleeve cuff is. I think it's a super cozy look. But I do have some concerns about how deep down that armhole is going. I mean, I have pretty deep yoke on this Norma sweater, so maybe it would be okay. But yeah, that is a lot of sleeve, especially since it's rolled up. Like, I wonder, like, how heavy is that sleeve? So maybe that's something I'm gonna have to modify. But then I'm gonna have to do like the decreases and the brioche. So yeah, I mean, it's a look. It's definitely a look. So maybe I should just embrace it and go with it. But so for this one, I was thinking about using the Sandnes Garn yarn that I already have that I thought was going to be for that other Sandnes Garn pattern, that our artisan cardigan. Think about just using that for this because I think, I mean, I didn't read the yardage requirements, but I, eyeballing it was like, probably have enough yarn for that. But probably not a this year plan unless I magically have more time. But I've already started thinking about all the things I want to knit for fall is gonna probably roll over into winter knitting. And yeah, there are so many things that I want to make, and if I had enough time, and even this is like from yarn that I already have in my stash too. Maybe I should do a video about it. But there are so many things would love to get done this fall and this winter. I just don't know if I'm gonna get there. I already feel like, but there is knitting mojo has greatly increased over this past month. Kind of lost it over summer break, but it's really coming back. I'm really excited. Like I go to bed thinking about knitting and I wake up thinking about knitting and yeah, just like obsessed with knitting again. And it's a really nice feeling. And I think it's because I've had time now that my daughter's at school and I'm feeling better about myself. And yeah, anyways, good things. We shall carry on. The last yarn that I have to share, I have some other purchases, but this is the actual last yarn that I will share. And it's a very special one because it was gifted to me from the lovely people at Entre Soeurs and Laine. They were one of the sponsors for Knit City this year. There's that cute logo. And so at the last about 45 minutes of marketplace on Saturday, yeah, so I ended up staying till closing. I didn't really intend to, but time flies, right? And I decided to use the last about 45 minutes to just like record. Didn't bring my actual camera, so we'll see how the footage comes out on my phone. But I was going around and asking, do you mind if I take some video of your booth for my YouTube channel? And when I stopped at their booth, they actually offered some yarn and then asked if I would, share and talk about it in my video. And I said I would love to. I have purchased from them before, so sometimes I have hesitation when people ask. I've had people ask, like emailed sponsorships, like blah, 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 all that stuff. And for a lot of them, I just don't take them on because if it's something that I don't know about, or I'm not already using, or that I wouldn't use it, even like wouldn't buy it with my own money, then I'm not really interested in the sponsorships. So it just feels kind of fake for me to take things on just to get free stuff. That isn't my thing. But I have used their yarn before and they are very lovely people. And so they said I could just pick any skein. I was like any? Really? So this one jumped out at me because I wanted to pick something that I would use for my daughter. And this one has a lot of colors that my daughter likes, and the name is Aurora Borealis. And I wasn't looking at yarn composition, but I happened to pick one that has cashmere content in it. So this one's 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. So it is kind of one of like their luxury sock yarns. It is really soft. Like it's very soft. And that's definitely because of the cashmere content in here. And the colors are just lovely. I forgot to ask whether this is a self-striping yarn or not, so I don't know. I asked my daughter if she would prefer a scarf or a toque or mittens, and she said scarf. So in a previous video, I shared the Stay Toasty scarf that I made for myself in red, and I had that out after filming. And my daughter quickly claimed it for herself that day and was wearing it around, which is pretty cute. And so when I brought this home, she said, "Oh, can you make me, that scarf, but with this yarn?" I said, "Yeah, sure." That scarf won't take a whole skein, so I'm gonna hold it single just to keep it nice and light for her. And hopefully, maybe there'll be enough at the end to make her some really simple mittens. Probably use the simple mittens pattern from Tin Can Knits. Just make her some cute, simple stockinette ones just to match the scarf. But yeah, I was very excited to be given this skein. So thank you again to Entre Soeurs Laine. They are based out of Quebec. They have been at Knit City before. They were at Knit City Toronto. So yeah, check them out. Very lovely. This is the cashmere sock yarn. And their colors are really nice. I'll share the footage that I did get. Very like a bit moody autumnal colors, nothing like too bright, but nothing like pastel. So good like mid-range of color tones there. So that is it for all the yarn that I purchased. I was not able to find a suitable yarn for the Ogden sweater. There were definitely some good contenders there, but nothing that I was like, yeah, like I didn't find anything with the same chainette construction that Wool Folk Far has. That's the recommended yarn for that sweater. And then I started doing the math about, okay, what if I ordered that yarn? And so if I order that yarn, it's going to cost me over $300, for the yarn to make that sweater. And that, for me, like, made me pause and think, because there is a lot of yarn required for that, even, for my size. So it's going to be a very expensive sweater. So I'm going to just put that on the back burner and really think about, do I want to use the suggested yarn or do I want to find something else? So maybe it's not going to get done this fall or winter. Maybe it's one of those things that I will continue my search for or just save up money for or something. Maybe for Christmas, ask for a gift card to the yarn shop that carries it. We'll see. But I do have a couple more things that I did grab. Sorry, fluff on my face. One thing I found, so not knitting related, but more sewing related, and it's something that I got to do with my daughter, hopefully. So when I have been hand sewing, my daughter wants to hand sew as well. So I usually just give her some like felt pieces, and I do thread like a needle, an actual needle for her, and she by herself, she doesn't follow any lines or anything, but she'll sit there and sew some lines into the felt piece that I give her. So, this one will be, of course, with help because she's still only 4, going on 5. But I got this kit from one of the booths. I'll put up the booth name where I got it from. Um, but this is so from the person that was vending, this is not like her actual product. This is from someone else. So it's just like a product she was carrying in her booth. Rita Van Tassel's Studio is the actual name for, I guess, like the designer or creator of this kit. But it's called the Space Boy Kit. I'm not really quite sure why it's called boy. Like, why wouldn't you call it Space Cat? Like, it's a cat. It's a black cat. Oh wait, there's a thing on the back here. Space Boy, a young cat with a head full of dreams and a ship full of yarn. So the only thing that's not included in here to make this Space Boy cat is the stuffing, which is totally fine because I got lots of stuffing here already. But it comes with the paper pattern pieces, wool blend felt, tissue paper, embroidery floss, needle, and pins. And it looks like just, running stitch. And then I don't know what the other stitch is called, but it looks like basic embroidery stitches used to create this little space cat. I don't actually, oh, finished size is about 8 by 5 inches. So that is roughly the size of this envelope, 8 by 5, if my eyeballs are correct. So yeah, just thought that'd be a cute little decoration for Darcy's room and also just an activity that we can do together, work on it, bit here and there, no pressure. Um, as a parent, I'm gonna have to get over, my need for perfectionism and things lining up. And it's going to be I have to focus on, the funness of it. But if you're a parent, caregiver, and when you're doing stuff with young children, yeah, you're independent and you're trying not to intervene. Like when you're doing puzzles with kids and they're like trying to figure out where this piece goes. Like, I don't have to say anymore. You're like, the struggle. But yeah, so Space Boy Kit. And the last thing I picked up is another little thing for my daughter. This comes from Okanagan Dye Works. So I didn't buy any yarn from Nikki this time around, but I did buy one of her little felted ornaments to give to my daughter. She's currently hanging this in her room as a little decoration. But I think this would be really cute as a Christmas ornament as well. And of course, my daughter's favorite colors, pink and purple. And the other thing that I'm not going to share, but Girl Guide cookies. So why are Girl Guide cookies important? Because ever since I've been going to Knit City Vancouver, I've come home with Girl Guide cookies, and even at Fibrous West. And when I went to Fibrous West this year, there was no one selling Girl Guide cookies. And I came home, and the first thing my daughter asked was, Mom, where are the cookies? So now my daughter associates going to these yarn events with cookies. So I did get cookies, and when I picked her up after being at the marketplace, I intentionally put the cookies on her car seat. So when I picked her up, and she climbs into the car, and I just hear, and I knew she saw the cookies, and she was so excited. So, and then of course she was excited to get this as well. Oh, I forgot. There is one last thing I got. So from the same booth where I got Space Boy Kit, I'm just seeing it now because it's another thing that my daughter stole or claimed for herself. Should I even clean it out? My daughter's been playing with it. But I got one of these jelly bags from that booth, and my daughter has put a bunch of pipe cleaners and things in it. But it's the kind of jelly bag that it can come apart. So if you want to like flatten it for storage. In my favorite kind of sage green color. I thought this would just be a cute little project bag for use at home or maybe taken out. Or, as my daughter said, it looks like a cat carrier for her stuffed cat or a baby crib. Or as last night when she was, home sick from school, this is where she puts her leftover jewelry supplies. I don't know. Um, but I mean, it is kind of cute that she likes the same things I do and claims things for herself. I think this would be really good for like sand toys at the beach, perhaps a bit small. I think maybe I should try to find a bigger version if I was going to actually use that for the beach. But just cute, complete impulse. It was only $12. So I thought that was a fair price, a good price. It feels pretty good. And then this kit, I cannot remember, is probably something like $30 maybe, 25 to $30 this kit. After tax, these two together were around 40-ish dollars. So yeah, so fairly priced kit in my opinion. But that is everything that I purchased at Knit City. I think I did a pretty good job. I came in just under, I think just under $400 is if I think if I added in everything. If you want to include the ticket and say like my lunch, then yeah, a little bit over $400 for one day of shopping. Not too bad. Considering last Knit City, I spent something like $800, I think. It was all those mini skeins I was buying for the Sweet Shop blanket. But yeah, like last thoughts on the event. Koigu, hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Hands down, my favorite booth for samples. They had beautiful rack of colorwork sweaters. And I believe some of those sweaters they sell kits for. But in particular, there was this sample that had green in it, and green is my favorite color. And just going through the rack and just the wonderful toothiness of the yarn, perfect for color work. Yeah, so that booth had my favorite samples. There were some non-knitting related booths as well. There was one selling almost like hand stitched quilt embroidery looked clothing. Very cool. Um, and then there was a chocolates at one booth. There was, I kind of regret not buying anything from this booth, but there was a booth selling wooden tools, we'll say. Some of them look like kind of like those darning mushrooms. There and also like a little loom, like a darning loom. I kind of really want one of those. I don't need them, but I kind of want one. But they are a bit pricey. They also had spindles for spinning. That was a really cute booth. Another non-knitting booth was the Bamboletta dolls, handmade dolls, very cute. Everything's very cute. Can I stop saying very cute? I need some more adjectives. Um, that was a really fun booth to look at. Sorry, there is fluff stuck on my eyelashes now. I'm just gonna have to feel like in Zoolander when Owen Wilson's character needs to like cut his eyelashes. I would never cut my eyelashes though. I'm like, I'm blind, I'm blind. Something else really important about Knit City is, of course, the people. And I wanted to thank everyone who came up, introduced themselves, and said hi. It is still weird, even as I'm about to say it, but it is such a pleasure to meet my local viewers, my audience. I don't think it's ever going to stop getting weird, but it was very lovely to meet everyone who I was able to meet. There was quite a few of you actually, and it was really nice. Um, and also loved seeing just the plethora of hand knit sweaters. One in particular, which was one of my favorites. A woman was wearing the jean sweater. I'm pretty sure it was the jean sweater by Joanna Gerich or Calibri. It's kind of like the wavy, lacy motif where you have like this pearl wave and then this lace bit kind of almost striped going on. And she had Pretty similar colors to my Norma sweater. This kind of like orangey red, a bit more orange for the pearl wave, and then a lighter blue for in between. And I actually went up to her and I said, "Oh, I love your sweater." Um, and I did speak to Max the knitter. I visited their booth and he complimented my Norma, and I was like, like, it's Max the knitter. But yeah, he complimented my Norma sweater. I was like, oh my God, thank you. That means so much coming from you. Like, gosh, fangirl much? Um, yes. And then another fellow carry top tester, I've got to meet Mindy, and she had styled her top on Instagram with the white tee underneath her green top, and she was wearing that at the marketplace, and seeing it in person is just even better, especially when you get to see like her lovely green eyes with the green top. Very nice. And yeah, what was the other? Was there any other standout? So the cardigan that my friend Lauren was wearing, there was actually multiples of, and I'm like, was that the pattern of the weekend? Even though it's not even a new Andrea Maui pattern. I can't recall the name of the cardigan, but maybe I'll put it up in case you're very curious. But there were multiple women wearing this. I saw a halibut sweater out there. I saw some men in some great hand knit sweaters as well. Didn't get a chance to go up to them and compliment their sweaters, but did see them. And I waved. I did not get to speak to him, but Kevin Yee in his Granny Square cardigan, he was rolling up to the venue while we were out for lunch, and he like had his phone out. So definitely was recording, but I kind of just like said hi. Um, yeah, a bit of a fan of his too. Just his content's funny. Watching his crochet journey as well. But yeah, the people is what make these events, even especially now that I know more people, like more of the vendors as well. Had a good chat with Elise, Sunday Fibre Co. Didn't buy anything from her this time around, but I did just buy a whole bunch of yarn from her Grand Palette collection, and yeah, so I wish I could buy from every single vendor. But you know what? The best thing I believe we can do if we cannot purchase from them is just to spread the word. Talk about how lovely everyone is and how lovely their yarn and their products are. Because that helps their small businesses too. So that brings me to the end of today's show and tell. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as I shared all my goodies and thoughts and experience at Knit City. I'm already ready for the next one. What is going to be the next yarn event? I don't know. For now, I will focus on working through my stash. I am looking forward to the next collection from Sunday Fibre Co. Oh, it's going to be a good one, guys. It's going to be a good one. Happy knitting, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.